Hello, and welcome back to Survive to Thrive with Kate McKay. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, I am very excited about interviewing an amazing woman that is just going to blow off your screen. Her name is Cece President. And again, I put on the glasses and read the bio. Cece President is an entrepreneur, speaker, and creator of the six-figure freedom residual income system. Cece President helps passionate and determined entrepreneurs get the coaching, confidence, and cash, get that, cash, they need to live their dream life. Although she holds a master's degree, Cece gained insight into entrepreneurship as the CEO of Clark Development Group, a real estate firm she founded and grew to $5 million at age 34. Passionate about both health and wellness and network marketing, Cece has spent the past 4 years enjoying life as a full-time business coach with Isagenix, a leading health and wellness company. I'm sure most people have heard of that. Already in the top 1% of income earned in the company, Cece is committed to building Isagenix as her next seven-figure business, amongst others. Welcome, Cece.
Hi, Kate.
All right, so this is the real deal about Cece. I can read all that bio, but literally the minute Cece and I met, we were like, we are sisters from another mother. And I know it's incongruous. We like legit, we were like giggling like right next to each other. And if you just want to just let the viewers know like where we met and any of your stuff you want to share.
You know what? It was so crazy because I still remember. So listen. Kate and I were part of this amazing mastermind community. It was called the Global Leadership Program. This was back in 2014, I think, Kate.
Yeah.
And, we were at one of our mastermind events in San Diego. And there was this little firecracker, and she just had this amazing energy and just this enthusiasm and excitement. And I was like, I like her.
And we were like that.
Right. And she shared her story. And I said, oh my God, like we had the same story. And so we met, we fell in love. And
we did. It's a love story.
It is.
So talk to me, because I really want you people to see and hear your heart, because as I was saying to you earlier, truly the gift of Cece is her ability to connect with people at not just like, oh, she's a good connector, like at soul level. And at that soul level where joy and grief and money and love and juiciness, all that stuff meets. Like she meets you there. And it's such a friggin' gift, and I'm so blessed to know her. So if you could just talk a little bit, Cece, about just what, at 14, what happened? And how did that change your trajectory?
I believe, let me just tell you this. I'm going to answer it by telling you a story. A few years ago, I was at a butterfly sanctuary, and I was watching this little butterfly in a cocoon, right? Still in its cocoon. And he was like, you could see it undulating and moving and pushing and like inside, like trying to get out of this cocoon. And I was so fascinated, Kate. I literally sat there like 15 minutes just watching this happen. And then a few minutes later, one of the women who worked at the butterfly sanctuary, she walked up, and I was just like, oh my God, how can you stand it? Don't you just want to go and grab the little cocoon and help the thing out? And she said, oh gosh, absolutely not. She said, because if I take it out of its cocoon, its wings will never develop.
Oh,
it'll die, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, life for me at age 14 was kind of like that situation, life had always been a little rough. I grew up in inner city Cleveland, Ohio. I had a single mother and 3 older sisters. And, life had often been a struggle. But at 14, one of the most challenging things to ever happen in life was, the death or murder, in fact, of my sister. My sister was my best friend, Kate. Like, she was my everything. And, you know, we went from talking and laughing at 12 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday, and 6 hours later, they pronounced her dead. Mm. And so what happens is at 14 years old, when your best friend is ripped from you in that way, what you recognize is that tomorrow isn't promised, you know? And so you recognize that there is somebody that you love, somebody that you connect with, somebody that, you know, brings you joy and happiness. You hold on to them, right? And you do everything you can to bring more of them together and together and together and together. And so just kind of like that butterfly, you know, that experience, obviously, of losing my sister and learning this lesson through the loss of my sister. I mean, obviously is not a lesson I would have chosen to get. But at this point, my relationships with people has been one of the biggest blessings in my life. So it's something I wouldn't change either.
Right. Isn't that the truth? Well, and similar for my story too. And I think that's I mean, my brother was, when I was 23, my brother was murdered as well. So, you know, when we share that story, you know, this is like us sitting on a balcony, and I just met Cece, and she's like, "What, room with me?" And we had literally this level of conversations where I was telling her things that I had never told anyone. She was telling me things about her life that she ever, and this is what I mean. So during this challenging time, you know, what are you paying attention to? What kind of synchronicities and connection that you can make at a deeper level, and how that's going to manifest change within you and in the relationships around you, whether you're talking about your intimate relationships, your business relationships, your relationship with money, your relationship with your family of origin, your relationship with your outer community and the world. This is the time to shift it up. And man, it feels like we're all trying to bust out of that chrysalis. And isn't that the truth, that we want to help people? And one of the biggest things I think, Cece, that you and I know as coaches is that it is that we have to be with people in their suffering and their challenges, but not carry it for them.
Woo, amen. Listen, it's so funny. It's so funny because one of the biggest lessons. So, you know, Kate, we've talked about this before. Your audience wouldn't know this, obviously, but, you know, prior to my life, again, I had that very amazing real estate business, you know, but here's the reality. That business, you know, in 2008, you know, that business went from, you know, being a $5 million business to being $2 million in debt, right? Like, I went from owning a $5 million business to being $2 million in debt, severely depressed, and just trying, and 60 pounds overweight, by the way. All three of those happened.
Can't even imagine.
Right? And so and within 36 months, now, probably the hardest 36 months of my life, I went from $2 million in debt, 60 pounds overweight, and severely depressed, to, you know, having yet another 7-figure business,
right?
Right? Like being truly, truly joyous and living in my ideal body, right? So, but the lessons that I gathered in those 36 months of truly recreating my life, I'm going to hone them down into 3 lessons that I'd love to share with your folks, because you don't have, we're supposed to be thriving, right? Like life is about thriving. Life is about growth, right? Life is about coming out of that chrysalis. Yes. And so here in a nutshell, what I've learned in 36 months, what I offer to you guys are 3 little lessons, 3 things that I want you to protect as we're going through this pandemic that we find ourselves in right now. I want you to protect your head. Mm-hmm. I want you to protect your heart. And I want you to protect your health. Okay. So what does that mean? Protect your head. So again, going through this journey, really looking to recreate my life, I had to protect my head. I had to protect my thoughts. I had to protect the images that were going into my mind. I had to protect the words that I was speaking out of my mouth. Like literally, Kate, during that time, I had to stop watching news, right? Because it was putting all these crazy images in my head. I had to truly protect my mind in terms of the people that were around me. Like I couldn't let other people's negative perceptions about anything impact what I was doing. So I truly had to protect my head. Like I have this, I have this belief that we have to talk to heal. Like we have to talk, we have to tell ourselves. We can't always listen to ourselves. Okay, we have to tell ourselves who we are, whose we are.
Mm-hmm. Right? Absolutely.
We have to talk to heal. We have to tell ourselves.
And tell our story to others too.
And right? Tell stories. Yeah. Absolutely. That's all a part of, protecting our head, right? Is getting the right stuff, the right stuff out and putting the right stuff in. So that's the first thing I want you to protect. Protecting your heart. And what does that mean? Protecting your heart is really about doing the things that bring you joy, that bring you peace, that, in staying centered in a place of gratitude. One of my first go-tos when things start to look crazy around me is I land at a place of gratitude. I'm never going to fall below gratitude, right?
I like that image.
For me, that's like, my mother-in-law, for example, my former husband's mom is really struggling right now in her battle with COVID-19. And, it wants to take me down. It wants to get me below the line. But I continue to live in a place of gratitude. I am so grateful, right? I keep saying to myself, I am so grateful that mama is strong. I am so grateful that my sister-in-law is an amazing provider for her. I'm so grateful that my sister-in-law has already recovered from COVID-19. So now she can actively go there and take care of my mother-in-law. I am so grateful that my mother-in-law listens to my advice and eats the best food. I'm so great, right? So I stay in a place of gratitude. That's what protects my heart. That's what protects my heart. I stay saying, okay, how can I provide joy? How can I be of service? What is it that I can offer to people that brings more light into the world? Right? That's how that's how we protect our hearts. And how do we protect our health? Listen, that's easy. Okay. I feel like it's easy, right? We have to, we need to get some sleep. So turn off the dang on television and go to bed at night, right? Let's start there.
Yep.
Drink a whole lot of water. I just finished I do these, I try to do this, right? Exactly. Like every half an hour. So drink a lot of water. Guys, seriously, this disease likes inflammation in the body. So anything that causes inflammation in your body, for right now, just minimize it. Can you minimize the meat? Can you minimize the cheese? Can you minimize the dairy? Can you minimize putting stuff in your body that puts you more at risk? Right? I'm not asking, look, you don't have to be a vegan forever. Just do it for 90 days. How about that? Make it a fun challenge for 90 days. I'm with a health and wellness company. So I put nutrition in my body. I do our whey protein sometimes, right? But I've switched to 100% for right now to protect my health. I'm 100% using our dairy-free options, Kate, because I know I need to minimize inflammation in my body. So if I am attacked, now again, I prevented it from getting to my head. I prevented it from getting my heart. So my health is the last place, right? That it could enter me.
Right.
So, I'm making changes for my health that are making a difference. So when you will protect your head, when you will protect your heart, and when you will protect your health, I'm going to tell you, you get to move on the other side of this, you know, with more joy, with more gratitude, with more grace, with, you know, with more beauty. And you come out of that chrysalis, if you will, you know, your highest and best version for yourself.
Yeah, that's so awesome. That's so good. So, yeah, there's just so much in that. Oh, wow. Yeah. So were you always such a bright light, Cece? Like, did you come out, and who fostered in that in you? Because I think that oftentimes people who are resilient and joy-filled may or may not have had a mentor or someone that lit them up. And did you have somebody like that?
You know, it's funny. Okay, now I didn't know my dad when I was growing up. I've been this kid forever, literally.
Yeah.
I didn't know my dad growing up, but then meeting him later, I discovered, yeah, we're the same person. Like, it's so weird. We're the same person.
Serious?
My mom is like a ball of joy too. But when it comes to mentorship, I'm going to tell you, one of the people who made such a big difference in my life was my godmother. My godmother was this beautiful, stately Black woman who in the 1970s owned her own home with 4 acres of land, and she drove this fancy car. And like, I had never seen, and I would spend summers with her, or I would spend break with her. And she actually showed me what possibility looked like. Again, I grew up in this, you know, inner city neighborhood. You know, what do you mean an extra bedroom? She had a bedroom in her house that nobody slept in? Like, no, you only have enough bedrooms for people, right? You know, who gets to have your carpet is white? Like, it just opened my mind to possibility. So my godmother,
and you were probably her light too. So what a blessing. I hear that often, that there's that one person that's letting, I know, because I'm one of 9 kids, like the same thing. It's like no one has an extra bedroom, you know, and always knowing too that I was a little bit different than the rest. And I think that's the biggest challenge oftentimes with being a brighter light. And how did you work through that, Cece, with, you know, finding the ideal relationship? I mean, you're madly in love with your husband, which I'm just like, oh, and like, how did you overcome the judgment of both yourself, of being the way you are, and also how people viewed you? Like, oh, Cece just had it easy. Everything comes easy to Cece. Cece's just this. She thinks she's all that. How did you manage that noise?
I love that question, girl, because that was a lot of noise. Kate, I, for a long time, I always could feel the power in me, but for a long time, I would dim that light for a very long time. And I would find ways to self-sabotage myself, right? Like, I would find ways of self-sabotage because there was, you know, I didn't feel I deserved it. I didn't feel like I was worthy of it. You know, one of the premises that I believe, you know, again, you are in this industry, you teach personal development for a living. So one of the ways that I believe when life breaks your heart, either the first time or the worst time, okay? I truly believe that in that moment, people make a decision. They make 3 decisions, in fact. They make a decision about themselves, and they call it an I am statement, right? Yeah. They make a decision about the person or the people who were involved, but they make that a people are statement. And I think people make a decision about the situation itself, but they make that a life is.
Yes. Statement. Yeah.
I am, people are, life is. After that, again, after the first time and the worst time, life breaks your heart. And so what happens for many of us, we go through life being either the exact duplicate of those 3 decisions, either the exact duplicate, or the dysfunctional opposite.
Yes.
The dysfunctional opposite. So let me tell you what that looked like for me, right? Let me tell you what that looked like for me. When life broke my heart the first time at 4 years old, I decided I am bad. I am bad. And so I really believed that I am bad. And so if I was the exact duplicate of that decision, I would have gone through life doing bad stuff, like, beating kids up. I don't know what it looks like, but maybe beating people up, or maybe stealing or lying or whatever, right? Like, I am bad. But I was the dysfunctional opposite of that, Kate. And I wanted to do overly good, not to prove I'm a good person, but to prove that I am not bad. Wow. That's the dysfunctional opposite. So in order to do that, right, in order to prove that I am not bad, I was a people pleaser, right? Like, I was constantly, again, trying to dim my light so that other people would feel better. I was the consummate, martyr. Oh, right. Don't worry.
I'll be on this one. High five, sister. You speak in my life. I'm weeping. I'm laughing. I'm crying.
Girl, listen, that was it, right? Oh, you don't have to suffer. I will suffer. I will suffer for us all. Yes, darling, right? That was me.
Same.
That was me.
Same. Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, can I tell you, the biggest blessing that I ever that ever happened for me was the loss of that business. Because let me tell you, it required me to go on a journey deep inside of me to heal me, to heal that little 4-year-old girl who thought that I am bad.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to tell you, and it was a day by day improvement. It was constantly looking at, what can I do to get 1% better? Okay. And then the next day, okay, great. What can I do to get 1% better? Okay, great. And the next day, and what can I do to get 1% better? And I'm going to tell you, it was just a journey of, going in and healing. I ended up, this is funny. I ended up, okay, after getting through the process, starting a new business, and, things were going a little bit better, I decided to take myself on my own sabbatical. I told you about this, in the Dominican Republic, right? So I left by myself, went and rented an apartment on the beach in the Dominican Republic, and I would get up every day and I would run. Okay, I was 60 pounds overweight, so it was not a run, people. Trust me, I was not running. But in between, I was running, right? And I would run 15 minutes down the beach and then walk back. I did that, right? And then every day I would do this personal development program called The Biology of Empowerment. But it was through that. Again, it was all about protecting my head, my heart, and my health. That's all I was doing on this trip in the Dominican Republic. That's how I went from a $2 million in debt to, really totally recreating my life even better and creating another 7-figure business. It was that process of healing once and for all this little girl who truly believed I am bad because somebody did something bad to her.
Yeah. Wow.
The work is real. And so I just...
In between that, Cece, you're talking about the I am bad and then the dysfunction. In the midst of that is the opportunity to heal, which I think is really the story of, like, in order to make manifest right now, maybe really what it is that, in this time that we have as a pause, is in what ways do we heal those pieces of us? And that includes in our relationship to ourselves and others. And I think that was probably a big part of your time too, being in the Dominican Republic. Like, what are my relationships? Who is defining me? And what am I willing to settle for in my relationships with myself and with others? others?
It's my relation. And I'm going to tell you, I'll tell you all the relationships I worked on because you know me so well. I did work on with my relationship to myself and healing that little girl and feeling the gap between that disconnect. Right. Mm-hmm. So I worked on my relationship with myself. Mm-hmm. I also worked on my relationship with others. What would I allow from them? What would I allow myself to do for them? Right. Like how I saw myself, how I value myself, but then how I value them inside of that as well. Right. So my relationship with myself, my relationship to my others. I also worked on my relationship to my business. And I said, okay, if I'm going to have a business, here are the requirements that I have for my business. My business needs to give me, and I'll tell you about my 5 freedoms in a minute, but I decided in that moment that my business needed to give me the 5 freedoms, right? That I live by right now today.
Right.
And I also worked on that time, my relationship to money, right? My relationship to money. Yeah. Well, how did I want money to flow in and out of my life? What did I want money to do for me? Right? Because it's this. Yes?
Yes.
Money is this. Yep. Right? What did I want it to do for me? What did I want my money to be able to do for the world?
Yeah. Great. So if you viewers, you hear that, right? What do you want your money to do for you? And what do you want your money to do for the world? It's energy. All right, good. So keep going.
It's that. And you talk about those were the 4 relationships that I worked on, and with intention, right? Growth is intentional. When you choose to, okay, let me take that back. Growth can be intentional.
Yes, it can.
Right. Many people are going to grow through this pandemic that we're going on right now, but it wasn't necessarily intentional.
Yes.
But those of us who truly choose to live our highest and best lives, no matter what is going on in the world, right? Like I say all the time, listen, I don't look at what goes on in the world and then decide how I feel. I feel how I feel, and that changes what's going on in the world.
Right. Yeah.
At least in my world, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think, growth, for those of us who choose to live our highest and best life, growth is intentional. Mm-hmm. Intentional. I do something every day. Again, my head, my heart, my health. I do something every day to strengthen my head, my heart, my health. Every single day with intention. Mm-hmm. And so maybe that's my prayer in the morning. I will not talk to another human on planet Earth before I talk to God. That's my requirement for myself.
Yeah.
That's my commitment to myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Maybe for my heart, it's my meditation regimen. It's the first thing I do after saying hi to my sweet darling love of my life, right? Once I get out of the bed, it's the first thing I do. Great. I'm going into meditation. That fuels my heart. Mm-hmm. You know? Again, it's about growth. And then for my health, look, I put my delicious nutrition in my body, and that supports my health.
Right.
But it's with intention. Mm-hmm. You know, and if you can choose to grow yourself with intention, the other parts of you will continue to grow as well. Your finances.
And it will, at the beginning, it will sort of shock and awe you. Like, I think that when we really are able to make those shifts, we're like, wow, like, why are people so nice to me? And like, whoa, where'd that money come from? And like, wow, that was easy to tell someone to stop doing what they've been doing for years that you've been tolerating, right? So it's like, be prepared to be surprised by the ease to which your life can possibly function, despite the challenges and struggles. Because listen, Cece and I have been through it. It's not that we were, sprinkling through the flowers, right? We've had the challenges. And we understand and we feel the struggle. We're not in any way denial. I know I'm not. I know you're not, right? So I want to just respect your time because I know you're super busy, but I'd love if you would talk about those 5 tips that you talked about. And then also in the show notes, absolutely all our information will be shared. So you can find out more about Cece and her business right below.
Awesome. 5 freedoms. This, you know how sometimes God downloads something to you, right? this was one of those downloads, like, when I was really, truly wanting to have a business that fulfilled me, right? That fulfilled me. And for me, fulfillment is in and out, in and out, in and out, right? It's the flow. What the download was, it was all about the 5 freedoms. And when you are someone, again, life broke my heart at 4. And so I didn't experience a lot of freedom. I didn't have freedom in that choice. I didn't have freedom. So freedom became one of those things that I absolutely had to have. Like
non-negotiable.
Right? It was non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable.
Whatever it was going to take, Kate, I was going to have those freedoms. And let me tell you what those 5 freedoms are. So the first one for me, not for everybody, but the first one for me was financial freedom. Mm-hmm. Because I truly felt like it opened the world of possibility for me and for other people. So I needed my life to experience financial freedom. Again, I grew up with, my mom definitely had no financial freedom, trying to raise 4 girls in the inner city by herself, right? Mm-hmm. There wasn't that. So I knew I had to have financial freedom. It's so improbable for me to have financial freedom given based on where I am from and who I am from.
Exactly.
It's so improbable. If it wasn't for the grace of God and growth, I could never experience what I've experienced. Okay.
Yep.
Financial freedom was non-negotiable. The other of the 5 freedom, the second of those 5 freedom is location freedom. Girl, listen, I need to be able to make money no matter where I am. If I'm in the Dominican Republic, if I'm here in Cleveland, Ohio, if I'm hanging out with my girlfriend in Mexico, I need location freedom. I want to be able, I knew life was bigger than inner city Cleveland, and I knew I wanted more. So I wanted location freedom. I've now traveled to 5 of 7 continents. I haven't been in Antarctica either. Yeah. 5 of 7 continents, traveled 25 countries across the world. Mm-hmm. That's location freedom.
Yes.
The third one, which is super important for me, is physical freedom. Mm-hmm. Hey, we need the body, we need the health, we need the stamina, we need the energy to do the things that we want to do. I was talking to a friend of ours, in fact, and my friend was just saying that they couldn't travel from wherever I was wanting to go to this other place because unfortunately that friend is over 500 pounds and both they and their wife, and they couldn't sit, even in first class, they can't sit together. Right? That's a lack of physical freedom. Yeah. But even something as simple as people aching in their bodies, like I suffer from an autoimmune that before my nutrition caused my body to become inflamed 3 to 4 times a week from the time I was 14 years old. And I had to make decisions about what activities I could do based on how I knew my body was going to react. There was no physical freedom in that. So I knew physical freedom was something that I needed. Time freedom. Girl, listen. Okay, time freedom. If I could just spend every single solitary second snugged up in the armpit of the sweet darling love of my life, Mr. Anthony President, I promise you I would. And so it was a requirement for me, for my business, for my life to have that time freedom so that we get to spend time together. I won't even, our crazy story about how we had to spend 19 years apart before we got together, right?
Isn't that wonderful, Cece? That goes back to that thing, that space between that you so beautifully described as to, you know, to here. And then this was the time to which it was like the perfect storm of that healing coming back to that relationship. It's a beautiful image, actually. Digging that.
It was. And, you know, and that's what time freedom does. It gives us an opportunity to spend our time together, doing what we want, when we want, how we want, why we want, you know? That's the fourth one. But let me tell you my fifth one. Because this is where it starts. It's the beginning of our conversation. Is exactly what you said to me. I think you said it's my secret sauce. I think that's what you said. But my fifth freedom is called emotional freedom. Okay, I only spend time with people I like, know, and enjoy. And it's so important to me. That's those relationships that you talk about. That's that gift that came from the loss of my sister, knowing that life is short. And so if you have somebody in your life that you love, you tell them. You spend time with them. You love on them. You give them your energy. But because I'm going to give my energy to those people, I can't just willy-nilly give it to any and everybody. Like I invest emotional freedom puts me in a place where that's where my joy comes from, because I'm only spending time. I only talk to, I only interact with people I like, I know, and I enjoy. You know, and so when you are in a space of living those 5 freedoms, girl, like what else is there? You know, and not that there are no issues in my life. I don't believe in problems, because problems are stuff that can't be handled by money, right? I don't have any problems really. I just have some issues here and there. Not that there are no issues that come up in my day, but man, when you starting out a basis of 5 freedoms, it can only get you but so down.
Right, it's true. So what would you recommend? That was unbelievable. And I wrote those down, and I'll probably try to put those in the show notes too. But what would you recommend for people right now? Just some last minute tidbits on what you would suggest to people who maybe aren't seeing the light through the tunnel, who have lost hope, who are losing their jobs, who are at home with people maybe in relationships that aren't good, and maybe not feeling peaceful in their heart, being triggered by past trauma and stress and strain.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that, because at the end of the day, you know, we can talk about all of this stuff out here in the world that could feel so esoteric, but if somebody is struggling, somebody is struggling. Yeah. You know, and I certainly honor and pray for, I pray for the world daily, daily. But if there were only 2 things that I could do, right? If I were at home and I were struggling in this way, and maybe I was triggered by past traumas, there were only 2 things I could do. Because I truly believe in those incremental steps. What's 1% better? What's 1% better? The first thing I would do is I would decide on my own gratitude practice. Whatever that looks like. And my gratitude practice changes. You know, it used to be a practice where I would physically, I on my phone, I have this note, it says gratitude journal. And so every day at the end of the day, I would type up 5 things that I was grateful for, right? But yeah, and I would spend literally a minute living in one of those moments. And I'm going to tell you, on some of those days where it was hard, right? I have a lot of friends in Puerto Rico. So, you know, when things were happening in Puerto Rico, I have a team out there. And so when things were happening in Puerto Rico, like it was, you know, I had to effort to stay above the line, right? And so on those days when it was hard, like sometimes my gratitude was, I'm so grateful that my cherry blossom lotion smells so nice.
Right.
Like
sometimes it could be scrapping, you know, it could be like, oh my gosh, this grilled cheese is the best thing ever.
Exactly. Right? Seriously. I mean, gratitude doesn't have to be, I'm so grateful I got you.
Exactly.
It doesn't. the smallest things. Like, sometimes it'll be, you know what? I'm so grateful that my husband brought me a glass of tea, a cup of tea without even me asking. Mm-hmm. Whatever it is, but find a gratitude practice that you can believe in. Now my gratitude practice, like I live in it. So it's just, it's a part of my prayer regimen. I talk about what I'm grateful for and I thank God for what I'm grateful for. And then every night I go to bed, I have a little alarm in my phone and it says, I'm so grateful that.
Yes.
And then I just fill in the blank with all the stuff that I'm so grateful for. But whatever it is, live in the moment and feel it. Feel it in your heart. Feel it in your heart. Mm. Feel it in your heart. And just because I'm going to tell you, gratitude keeps you grounded in the now. Mm-hmm. Right? Yes. You have zero power in the future. You have zero power in the past. You can only impact and affect right now. And that's where gratitude keeps you grounded. Mm. So the one, there are two things, but the first thing I would have you do is truly just develop your own gratitude practice. And then the second thing I would have you do is grow. Find some way to intentionally grow yourself. So even if you're out of work right now, and you don't know where your next meal is coming from, decide, I'm going to invest an hour of my day. Part of that hour in my day is growth. I don't even care what it looks like.
Doesn't matter.
Right. It doesn't even matter. Look, do the Biology of Empowerment by Dr. Poulos like I did. It's the best thing ever. I love that. Read Kate's book, How to Be a Badass. I love that. Whatever it takes, invest an hour, 2 hours, whatever you have, growing yourself. Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter what it is. I think the thing that people get hung up on is, if I learn something, it has to apply to something else. Literally, I'm doing 30 days to getting my splits. I'm working every day. Now, how is that manifesting into anything else? It's not. But it's tapping into here. It's giving me a sense of accomplishment. It's giving me some form and function around the chaotic existence, which is my life at this point, and many of ours, and all of ours, I should say, right? So it doesn't really have to apply, but every single thing that you apply to growth, you're learning lessons about who you are and how you show up, and that applies everywhere.
Can I tell you one of my favorite growth exercises that I did last year?
What is it?
I had this thing called 40 books in 40 weeks.
Wow.
And every week I would read a book. And then to help keep me accountable, because I'm a slick little thing, right? Look, I let me down before I'll let Kate down, right? I'm a slick little thing. So what I made myself do was get on Facebook every Monday and say what I loved and what I learned about this book.
Excellent.
40 weeks. It was one of the biggest growth experiences of my entire life.
Right. Reading is just absolutely essential. I mean, I love it that look at the library to which it sits behind you. It's beautiful. Home to that. That's wonderful.
One of my prize, and it goes all the way.
I love it. That's all about
how messy it is. We use these books, people.
Yeah, that's good. Right. Exactly. They're not color coded, which I love. So, Cece, is there any last minute tidbit before we finish up?
Listen, you know what? Thank you. One, I want to thank you. I want to thank you, Kate, because what you're doing here, is bringing joy to the world, right? What you're doing here is truly making a difference in people's lives and giving them hope and showing them possibility and showing them the face of what it looks like, to truly thrive. Especially, given the way that life has unfolded for you. Mm-hmm. So I just want to take the last few minutes to say thank you. Thank you for being of service. Thank you for living at your highest and best self. Thank you for healing your heart. And thank you for allowing us the opportunity to go on that journey with you. I love you.
Thank you. God, you got me crying. Oh, my goodness gracious. I actually have Kleenex. Oh, shit, girl. Oh, my gosh. Well, thank you. And I'm really looking forward to sharing this with the viewers. If you have any questions, you can reach out to Cece. If you have any information that you want about Isagenix, please reach out to her, to me. I mean, I have it. I love my vitamins through Isagenix. Those are my absolute favorite, which reminds me, I do need to place an order. So yeah, I need to get. All right. Well, thank you so much. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Bye-bye, viewers, and thank you so much. And we'll be back again for our next episode of how not only to survive, but thrive. Take good care.